You mentioned that it's okay to modify your meditation practice to what works for you, as long as it is within the context of what the Buddha taught. If following the breath doesn't lead one to serenity concentration, can one choose a different object? Also, does it matter which posture is used? Yeah, you can use a different object, for sure. One thing I will say is that for the majority of my practice, I didn't follow the breath. I told you that, in the beginning, I had a lot of struggles with my breath, and I still do. I'm a lot better at it. I think there's a lot of issues with my breath related to having severe asthma and allergies as a child, and I still have some asthma and allergies today. So for the far majority of my practice, I was essentially what you would call a dry vipassana practitioner. And that does exist in the suttas. There were monks at the time of the Buddha that didn't do jhana and that didn't follow the breath and all that kind of stuff. They just totally did the four foundations of mindfulness and observing their body. And there's monks today that do that. It's there. It's not necessarily what the Buddha recommended because it's supposedly a lot harder. But for me, it was a big part of my practice. Now, of course, that practice also kind of led me to following my breath too, because it's interesting because you do develop a concentration when you practice just Vipassana. It's not as deep a concentration as if you practice it together with Samatha. But one day I'm just sitting there just observing whatever comes up in my mind, and all of a sudden I just notice my breath. And it's calm, and it's steady, and it's unlike any breath I ever remembered, ever. Because usually, even now, like if I try to breathe, it's hard for me to take a full deep breath because I just have these constrictions and all kinds of gunk and everything. And I said, wow, what is this? This is like amazing. Like I'm not controlling my breath. It just came out of nowhere. And ever since then, and also reading the suttas and things like that, I decided to change, my practice to concentrating on my breath. Especially because I think because it's been such a hindrance for me, I think it's also been one of my greatest teachers. So no, you don't have to, if the breath is something that you have a hard time with, you can, change your object if you're aware of the different objects. Metta is also a samatha practice. You can, use metta to get into the jhanas. That's something I haven't been very successful in, so I can't really talk to you too much more about that. But there are very prominent monastics that is their practice. They practice metta as their object. And the posture, I don't think the posture makes a difference. It's more about being able to be stable and comfortable for long periods of time. There's two aspects to being a meditator who can, you all get jealous over because you look at them and they're like a rock for like an hour. Right? You're like, well, what's going on with that? I can never be like that. There's two aspects to that. One is to have the mind that is not so bothered by the physical body, that every little thing is going to disturb the mind. The other thing is to have a body that is going to be able to be at least marginally comfortable for a long period of time. So whatever posture that you can find that you're going to be comfortable in for a long period of time is fine to meditate in. You often hear about like lotus and half lotus and all this stuff. Well, the reason why lotus is probably the best posture is because it's so stable. And because if you're able to do it, I don't know if it's comfortable. Even most people I know who can do lotus even say that they can't really do it for like a long, long period of time. That it does get uncomfortable after a while. But it's more about being comfortable. Some of my deepest meditation in terms of concentration and like jhanic-like concentration and stuff like that, flirting around the jhanas, has been actually at my chair, at my desk when I was working as a layperson. I wasn't sitting cross-legged in the woods somewhere. I was in my office. So it's more important about stability and comfort than the specific type of posture.